sandwiches, Lance, and welcome to my channel, Lance and Tech. Today I want to tell you how I got into IT. How did I get into the field? Because it was not my original plan as I set out to do what I need to do. Right now I'm currently in my mid-30s, and this is my fourth year going into IT. First is I didn't start off in IT. I've worked for a couple of state agencies, government agencies. I worked for a church for a period of time, and through those different experiences, I was able to kind of essentially, actually, let me back up. So first of all, I worked for a couple of state agencies. I worked for a church for a period of time, and I was working for the church about 3.5 years. And toward the last year, I kind of felt things going awry, and before I didn't really understand that, sometimes there are moments for when you're employed at the job when you feel like I'm about to get laid off. And so about 8 months prior, I'm talking to my wife, and I'm like, man, I really would like to transition into a different career role. So for me, based on my experience, I was a youth pastor at a multi-site church. So that means that I had to set up systems. I had to set up different equipment. I had to write manuals for volunteers on how to and what to, or at least coordinate that, right? And so at first I was like, project management sounds good, because I have friends who are project managers and they speak highly of those types of roles. And but I also realized but also I like IT. I have a 2012 MacBook that I would take apart a lot for various reasons, to try to soup up the RAM or whatever, replace the batteries, and just always dealing with different various forms of software. I'm into music. You see the headphones here. And so I was like, you know what? Let me, and again, if you're not spiritual, that's cool. But for me, I'm like, let me pray on it. Let me figure out what's what. And so toward the middle to end of the year, right before I got laid off, I saw a role pop up for a school that I would often speak at when I was a youth pastor. Again, I was a youth pastor multi-site, so that means that I was always trying to get in front of people, meet different folks in the community, partner with different folks to try to figure out how to get students involved in the ministry and get resources for them and things like that, right? So for me, networking was just a part of what you do. When you're in ministry, when you work for a church and you work for a large church, you gotta get to know people. You gotta shake hands. You gotta be able to talk to folks. And actually, my wife had shown me the role. She was like, "Hey, you spoke at the school a couple times, and I know you know a few folks there. Why won't you apply?" So I ended up applying at the school. A couple of days before I kind of had to come back from the holiday break for my church gig. And so when I went back to church at the beginning of the year, I got laid off that day that I came back. Now again, it was a little weird because I kind of was planning to exit. I literally had to apply for the job before I even knew I was getting laid off. But it was just a weird time. It was really odd. It was odd for me career-wise. And when you get laid off, you have a lot of imposter syndrome and stuff like that. You're like, I don't, what's my self-worth? All of that sort of stuff. And so I got laid off. I started the interview track with this school for a help desk role, a tier 1 help desk role. And as I was interviewing, I kept going through the different interviews. And for me, going into this role, this tier 1 role, I knew what I was going to leverage. I've been working for a little bit, and I've been networking for a little bit. And I know folks in different places. I even knew folks at the school. I kind of did my homework. I hit up my different references at the school, and I said, hey, references, people I knew, hey, when you had the interview, what was going on? What did they ask you, or what does this place value? And that really gave me a leg up on the interview process. And so I went, I did the interviews, I did about four different interviews, and I got the gig. So what I learned about that process in my first IT role, because I'm no longer with that role, I'm in a different company now, is that I utilized the skills that I had. I had really strong soft skills because again, you work, and this ain't even, I work for the government and I worked at a church. Now, if you work at McDonald's, you work at Arby's, you work at any place that's front facing and dealing with people on a day-to-day basis, you're going to have an advantage over the person that is coming out of college but has never had to deal with people, right? Place these tier one roles, they would prefer a person that, sure, you can have some technical skills, but if you have a strong set of understanding, how to comprehend different pieces of technology, and you know how to deal with people on like a frequent basis, then that's going to be, that was very key for me, and that's very key for a lot of other folks I know in IT as well. So I'm going to do a whole nother video on what I would do if I was getting into IT. But one thing that I want you to leave you with is that your skills, what you have, is enough to try to start. Now that you want to grow on those skills, but don't think that the gap between, again, you being in customer service, you being you working as maybe you work as a teacher, or maybe you work as a sanitary worker or whatever, sanitation worker, even though they don't make bad money. The what it takes from you to do that to get into IT is not that wide. And that's the reason why I even made this channel, because we don't share that enough in the IT realm. And the people that look like me, we are starting to share that, but it need to be more people that they're not hot. Like I'm not in big tech right now. I currently work at an MSP that is a managed service provider, and we service about 200 plus clients in a wide range of areas. And all that means is we are the IT people. We are the only IT solution, or mostly, for most of these clients and stuff like that. What it took me to get to where I'm at wasn't that wide of a jump from what I already knew, although it does take continuing the education on your own and stuff like that. Again, I'll do another video on that. But just want you to know, it's not a wide gap between where you are now and you getting in IT. But that's all I got for y'all today. Peace.